Rose asks someone when she will see them again. She does not want to go. She also asks the person to promise they will not leave her. Then a young man using a lawnmower stops to look at her. He sees she is not talking to anyone. Motivational statements are heard coming from his headphone. He is Eric. In the next scene, we see a family in their home. Another one soon comes to join them. Shortly after, Eric's friends arrive too. At the table outside, Eric's father, Nate, congratulates his son for being accepted into a certain college. After that, Eric comes to Rose in the woods. They talk about the carving on the tree near them, which is their initials. On the day it was carved, he told her everything will be okay. Inside the house again, Eric looks at a girl, Jessica. Later, we see him at football practice with his friends. At night, he drinks with one of them in his car. When his other friend comes in, they ask Eric why he has not been intimate with Jessica yet. This slightly upsets him, and he tells them to not talk about her like that. Meanwhile, Jessica starts reading a story to Rose at home. In the story, the girl is looking for love. It doesn't take long for Rose to get sleepy, so Jessica puts her to bed. She tells Jessica to keep the light on so she can see her friend when he comes. She states that he lives in the woods near the house. Rose also says he is not imaginary, like Eric believes. On the next day, the parents return home. The mother, Mary, asks her son where his sister is. He tells her he does not know. Following that, we see the parents anxiously searching for their daughter outside. Mary comes to Jessica's home with her son. She loudly asks the girl where Rose is, but Jessica doesn't know. Eric tries to calm his mother, saying not to yell at Jessica. Mary starts crying as they leave the residence. Then Eric watches from his window how his parents talk to the police about the situation. Eventually, Mary gets a call from the police telling her they located her daughter. The next scene has Mary running to an ambulance to hug Rose. Eric comes out to witness her do it. In the hospital, Rose sits up and says she sees Eric through the glass. She says this in a way that does not fit her personality. Soon her father comes to her, making the girl yell out to him with enthusiasm. Upon returning home, Eric intently watches Rose walk upstairs. He follows her to her room, where he observes Rose touch a drawing that has a demon on it. During breakfast, Eric watches his sister with a strange focus. At night, the girl watches how lions devour a zebra on TV. Mary comes to turn it off, telling Rose her friend Anna will see her tomorrow. Rose seems confused at first, but soon responds positively to it. Once her mom leaves, she turns the television back on. Upstairs, Eric eavesdrops on a discussion his parents are having. His mother says with worry that Rose did not recognize Anna's name. Then Eric climbs up to look at his sister smiling in front of the mirror. He makes a creaking sound, which makes Rose turn around with black menacing eyes. Becoming scared, he closes the door abruptly. This makes his parents come into their daughter's room to check if she is okay. The next day at the breakfast table, Rose asks her brother to sit with her. He declines it, which prompts Mary to tell him to do it. After he sits, Rose says she is sorry he had a bad dream. He looks at her oddly for some seconds before telling her it's fine. Afterward, he runs outside, listening to his motivational statement. As he runs, Jessica's father drives up to him and thanks him for protecting Jessica from his mom on the day she came to be assertive with her. When Eric returns home, he witnesses Rose eating a worm outside. Shortly after, Mary appears to ask him if he heard from Jessica lately. He says he has not. During the night, Eric equips himself with a knife to go outside. He walks using a flashlight. The area he wanted to go to is the tree that holds the initials. He sits on it and soon gets startled by a sound. Eric asks who is out there, moving the flashlight around somewhat fearfully. In a short while, something runs nearby, which alerts him even more. Then he sees Jessica standing near her window, seeming expressionless. On another morning, Eric prepares some bacon for his sister. However, she does not want to eat it. Yet he tells her to do it, so she does. Although later, he watches her vomit outside. At night, Eric gets a text to attend a certain party. Once he arrives, he gets greeted by his friends. As he dances with a girl, he perceives Jessica standing nearby before she quickly vanishes. After her, he now sees an injured Rose. That makes him go back into his car in anger. He drives back recklessly due to being drunk. Seeing Rose in the backseat makes him lose control. He is forced to brake suddenly, which gets him into an accident. Stepping out of the car, Eric commands Rose to step out too. Her door opens, but no one is there. Soon he sees something crawl outside and becomes terrified. It doesn't take long for an officer to arrive to ask him if he has been consuming alcohol. In the next scene, Eric sits at a police station. His father brings him home. When he does, Mary expresses her disappointment with her son. He sits in his room, looking at a picture of Rose. Then he eavesdrops on his parents' conversation again. He hears his mother saying something is wrong with him. At that point, Eric knocks on their door. Once he is inside, he apologizes for what happened. He also says that ever since Rose vanished, he felt guilty. In response, his mother hugs and comforts him by saying it's not his fault. After that, Eric comes into Rose's room to tell the girl he knows she is not Rose. He asks her what she is, before rudely saying she isn't his sister. On the next day, he bikes while listening to his motivational speech. He stops to look at Jessica's window to see her standing there again, but with Rose this time. In a short time, Jessica leaves, though Rose keeps standing. They look at each other, with Eric seeming particularly troubled by her. Later that day, he sits in a restaurant with his father. There, Nate tells his son he knows he is having a rough time. He also tells him to get it under control. Shortly after, Jessica arrives with her father. They join Nate and Eric. However, Jessica leaves soon for an unknown reason, prompting her dad to follow her. At home, Mary comes to Rose while she's in the shower. She plays a game, saying "Where's Rose?" multiple times. As she does, we observe a shadow growing behind the curtain, but moving it reveals a normal Rose. Later at night, Eric watches how his mom reads a story to Rose. It concludes with Mary saying that life is a beautiful thing. Afterward, Eric goes to look at his family photo album, which almost brings him to tears. His mother coming in is what stops it. She tells him she will be away with his father tomorrow. So because of that, she would like it if Eric watched Rose. At a very late hour, he uses binoculars to spy on Jessica, who just sits on her bed. Soon enough, she takes out a knife to start injuring herself. This causes Eric to rush to her house, urging that he be let inside. Once her parents open the door, he runs to Jessica's room. The parents also come there, becoming shocked at a sight we don't see. The next scene has them at a hospital. Eric comes to the girl, and she wakes up, yelling for him to get out. At another time, her dad tells him she seemed happy. He does not understand what could have led her to do this. As they talk, Jessica sleeps with both of her hands tied to the bed rails. Eventually, her father asks Eric why he was looking at their house. Eric tells him he thought he heard something outside. Then the light from her room caught his eye. When he returns home, he passes his sister without saying anything. In the washroom, he gets troubled by images of her and Jessica. Meanwhile, Mary catches Rose making a get-well card for Jessica. After the parents leave, Eric tells the girl she can stop pretending now. He rudely states again that she is not Rose. At that point, her eyes blacken, and she asks if she can ask a question. Backing away, he becomes scared. Rose asks him what love is, because the girl in the story was searching for it. Since humans are obsessed with it, she wants to know what it is. She also says Eric wants to take her life. That is when Eric goes to collect a knife. Yet Rose says they have company. Looking out the window, he notices Jessica standing outside. That causes him to come after her. He starts yelling at her, asking what she wants. Rose is also there, trying to stop him, but he slaps her down. For some reason, that prompts him to go back inside to look at the family photo album again. Whatever he is looking for in there, he can't seem to find it. So he enters the shower. In the meantime, Rose is busy drawing a picture. Eric loses control and yells in the shower. Once he is out, he begins listening to his motivational program. Then he collects a knife before knocking on his sister's door. When he breaks into her room, he finds himself surrounded by dozens of pictures she drew. All of them seem to have a red X on them somewhere. Following that, Eric rides out with a shovel while Jessica watches him pass. He comes to the tree that possesses the initials. Putting his hand on it, he gets more troubling images of the two girls. He starts digging after they go away. Eventually, he finds a hand sticking out. Rose appears to ask if he found what he was looking for. Then she removes her outer appearance to reveal a monstrous form. Eric tries to slam it with the shovel, but the monster pushes it aside. This makes Eric start running away. As he does, he falls and knocks his head. The monster drags him, causing him to demand for it to take his life. Instead, the monster touches Eric's head with his finger. Doing so makes his eyes turn black. After that, we begin seeing what happened on the night of Rose's disappearance. When Jessica left, Rose heard a sound that made her get out of bed. She came down and witnessed Eric being abusive to Jessica. She soon yelled for him to stop, which allowed Jessica to escape. At that moment, Eric told his sister it was not what she thinks, but she ran. He followed her into the forest, and there, he yelled that if she told anyone, he would end her life. Then he caught up to her, told her to go home and to forget what she saw. Asking if she understood him, Rose said she did not. So he came after her, which made the girl fall back on a rock. Eric became terrified and Rose asked him to help her. Instead of helping, he fought with himself until he stood up in a transformed state of mind. He observed his sister lying injured on the rock. What followed was him burying her. The final step of the act had him taking a shower before going to bed. With the truth placed inside his head, the monster releases his fingers from Eric. But he cannot accept the fact that he ended his sister's life. Crying about it, the monster touches him again. Now he gets reminded of the statement he told her while they were near the initials on the tree, that he will always be there for her. More happy moments with her come afterward. Once the monster removes itself from Eric, it seems to mourn for Rose. Eric is in turmoil, not knowing what to do. Shortly afterwards, Jessica appears to slam the evildoer with the shovel, telling him that Rose loved him. As she keeps slamming Eric, other memories come to him. Then the police arrive. Mary gets there too, though an officer has to hold her back. The final moment has Eric looking at Jessica. We are left expecting that justice will be served for the family. For all the people he hurt, Eric will be accordingly dealt with by the law, while his parents and Jessica will have pleasant memories of Rose.